Have you ever felt someone establish superiority over you almost instantly, without raising their voice or stating it directly? It didn't look like domination. It looked smooth, casual, almost effortless. And yet the dynamic shifted. How people establish superiority instantly rarely begins with aggression. It begins with calibration. In the first seconds of interaction, subtle signals determine positioning. Who holds eye contact slightly longer? Who finishes their sentences without trailing upward? Who reacts least to being observed? These micro-moments create a symmetry before content even matters. Superiority is often communicated through lack of visible adjustment. When someone speaks and does not monitor the room for approval, the signal implies internal anchoring. When they pause without rushing to fill silence, the pause communicates comfort with space. When a mild challenge is met with steady tone instead of justification, the interaction tilts. What you feel internally in those moments is evaluation. You notice their steadiness. You notice your own micro-reactions, a slight contraction in posture, a quicker response than necessary, a reflex to clarify your position. That contrast becomes structural information. Hierarchy forms through comparison of reactivity. The person who appears least destabilized by social pressure is interpreted as more secure. Security attracts alignment. Alignment increases weight. Often this process is unconscious. The other person may not be deliberately asserting control. They are simply not signaling dependency on your approval. That absence of visible need communicates leverage. Notice how momentum builds around such presence. Interruptions become rarer. Jokes at their expense are softer or avoided. Disagreement is framed more carefully. None of it is announced. It accumulates. The mechanism behind instant superiority is signal coherence. When posture, tone, and pacing align without visible correction, the room registers stability. Stability is equated with authority. Watch what happens when you reduce micro-adjustments under subtle scrutiny, when your tone remains even, when your response pace slows slightly instead of accelerating. The comparison shifts. Superiority is not always claimed, it is inferred. The person who appears internally governed rather than externally reactive often sets the tone of the hierarchy within seconds. And once you begin recognizing how quickly these calibrations occur, the dynamic stops feeling mysterious. What seemed like charisma often turns out to be controlled signal stability.